Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a super fun video for you. This is going to be a scrapbook layout, and there are lots and lots of elements and steps and some mixed media in this project. So let's get started. I have this super cute stencil from Brutus Monroe. This is called the Trick or Treat stencil. I have 3 different pastes from Brutus Monroe, 2 colors of Candy Coat, green and orange, and Velveteen Glaze in Beautiful Blush, which is one of my favorites. I'm going to be stenciling onto some panels of Brutus Monroe's Not Your Mama's cardstock in each of these 3 colors. Same stencil, 3 colors. I'm starting with the Candy Coat. So Candy Coat from Brutus Monroe is a paste that is pretty bright and bold. So the color you see it going onto the paper is the color it will dry. And then it has this lovely texture, which comes from like this confetti that's in the product. So there's like these chunks of, I don't know what to call it. It's like glitter, but not glitter. Like it looks like flakes, like glittery flakes. So I would say careful when you are spreading it around. You don't want to go outside the edge of the stencil. Take your time. You can see how slow the video is, and this is sped up 2 times. So that should give you an idea of how slow I'm being with this. I am getting a nice layer of the product down, and then I want to make sure that I'm kind of, this is just me. I don't like to waste product, I guess is the word. So I'm going to go over this whole thing one more time and just get as much of that product off the stencil. That makes cleanup way, way easier too. Okay, and now for the big reveal. Dun, 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 dun. And then these candies have this texture on them that is so fun. It's so cool. I really, really like it. So clean up, and then we're going to switch to a different color. Next color is the Candy Coat Green. And again, this is a Candy Coat, so it's going to dry exactly this color, but it does have these kind of chunky, glittery flecks in it that gives a really fun texture. Here is the big reveal, and then we're going to clean this all up. Look how awesome that looks. Set that aside to dry, and then we're going to come in with the Velveteen Glaze. Velveteen Glaze dries matte. So I'm going to put this on, and it's like this pretty kind of light, not light, but it's this pretty like bubblegum pink kind of. When it dries a little bit more fluorescent. That's all I can think of to describe it. You'll see it's a little more orangey when it dries. Let's go with that. And it dries matte. I love Velveteen Glazes for that reason. That matte finish is just awesome. I love matte finishes. And so this is going to be our 3rd panel. And this color I'm using is called Beautiful Blush. And here is the big reveal. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean up my desk. But wait, we're not finished yet. This is like the first part of a bunch of techniques we're going to do today for a scrapbook layout. So I'm going to pull that off, set it aside, let it do its drying thing. The next 2 things we are going to work with today are this stamp set. This is the Sweeter Than Candy 2x3 stamp set, and all of these papers. So these papers are from the Jawbreaker 6x6 paper pad. This paper pad is so fun and so colorful. I love it. So I'm going to start with the big candy jar. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the candy jar 5 times on this sheet of paper. And this is the same thing. I think this is Not Your Mama's cardstock. but it could be alabaster. It's in with my Brutus Monroe white cardstock, so it could be alabaster or it could be Not Your Mama's. I don't remember. I'll try to see if I can figure that out and put it in the description box. Anyway, I'm going to stamp it using the Raven Detail ink, which is my go-to, most amazing black ink ever. And then I'm going to color these candy jars up with my Zig markers. Those are my favorite coloring markers. I love them. Which is actually going to remind me that because I'm going to color them with the Zigs, this is not Brutus Monroe's cardstock. This is Bristol Smooth cardstock. Oh well, shh, don't tell anyone. Next up, I am going to choose a bunch of these cute pattern papers, and I'm going to stamp these little candy pieces on sections of the papers. Awesome bonus, because this is Brutus Monroe paper, I have 4 of each of these designs. So that means that I can pick which, area of the pattern paper I want to stamp on, and I can die cut this, and I still have the same patterns to use for other projects, and I don't need to fret. I am kind of going in here and grabbing specific colors from some of the papers. Like this is the only pattern that had some orange in it, and since I did the Trick or Treat stencil with orange, I want to make sure that I have the colors that were in that I used for my stencil mediums. I want to make sure I have those colors in candy. And once everything is stamped and colored, I'm going to die cut all of it because I have the coordinating dies. I also dipped into my stash for some metal dies, alphabet dies, and I die cut and made my own title. So let's get started. I think we're ready to put this layout together. I have now fussy cut the candies from those mixed media panels. That's right. Fussy cut them. All the candies from the mixed media panels. I actually don't think I did them all. I think I should have, because I believe somewhere back in this process I end up going back and fussy cutting more of them. This is a wood grain textured paper that I have in my stash, and I am going to go ahead and use it as a candy shelf on my layout. We are going to be scrapbooking 4 photos today, and it is documenting the grand opening of Scoozy's Candy. So Brutus Monroe recently in May opened a candy store. It's right beside, like it's almost like in a little room beside the main Brutus Monroe room. And a friend and I went to the grand opening. We had the most fabulous time. They have the best candy. It was so good. And I took lots of pictures, and I got to meet Jessica, who I haven't met yet, and that was awesome. I loved getting to meet her. So that was super fun. I catch up a little bit on my layout. I cut 1-inch strips from that embossed paper. I am now giving that embossed paper a nice little swipe of white pigment ink to kind of make the wood grain on the paper pop. And now I went ahead and I matted both my photos. Now I matted them in a unique way. I left just a small bit of color around the photos, but then I matted them 2 on one mat, and I left a gap between the photos. You kind of see the gap there. We're going to use that gap. I did that intentionally. I wanted that gap because I'm totally going to cover it up. Placed those dark brown wood grain paper strips across the bottom. That's going to really ground this design, having that kind of dark and that dark strip across the bottom. Also, you're not going to see a lot of that dark strip. It's there in the finished product. It does the job it's supposed to do, but it's not super visible, and you'll see that as we create this layout. So my idea is to kind of stagger these photos. I have, those two, and then I have the other two are going to kind of come up, and that's going to give us two little sections. This layout design almost has the feel of a grid layout, or maybe an upside down T design, which I do really, really like. So now we have kind of two open areas to put a title and then a little subtitle. And this dark wood grain strip across the bottom is now going to act as a candy shelf. I'm going to place the jars that I colored kind of on top of the shelf, make them look kind of like they're sitting on the shelf. And then I'm going to take all of that candy and have the candy kind of spilling down from the jars, which is why I said you're not going to see a lot of this dark brown wood grain paper across the bottom, but it serves a purpose. It serves a good spot for our little candy jars to sit, and then it gives the illusion of that candy kind of spilling down off the shelf. And then I'm also going to fill in those gaps between the photos with lots and lots and lots of different kinds of candy. So you might be noticing how we used that stencil. I used it in a very unique way. We're not using it as a stencil piece, but I did go ahead and fussy cut the different candy shapes from the stencil to give me some more candy shapes. Also, because I stamped the candy pieces onto pattern paper, I wanted to make sure that there was a nice mix of both more solid elements and then more patterned elements on my layout. So we have the patterned paper candies, but then we also have the solid mixed media fussy cut candies. So you can see here, I'm just sticking and plunking all of the candies. I'm creating those candy borders between the photos, and then I'm filling in our shelf across the bottom with lots of different candy pieces. And then here are those die cut letters that I created. So this is one layer of pattern paper, one of the Jawbreaker patterns, and then 2 layers of Not Your Mama's cardstock. So this title has a lot of dimension. It's like making your own thickers, basically. It's one of my favorite things to do. Yes, it's a little tedious. Yes, it takes a while, but man, it looks good, especially when you have a couple metal or alphabet die sets that you just love the font of. And I have found that I have about 3 different fonts that I just love to use over and over again. So I'm going to go ahead and get my title into place. And then I decide I need more candy pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and grab more of those panels, those mixed media panels that we created at the very beginning. And I'm going to go through and fussy cut some more little pieces of candy from those panels. Now I can go ahead and add more of those little candy pieces around my layout. So I wanted to add, what I did was I cut 1 of each color so I could create 3 little candy clusters. So I'm going to put 1 candy cluster beside that, our grand opening title, but then I wanted to add a little subtitle down at the bottom, but I don't want it to carry a lot of visual weight. So I'm going to grab some white puffy stickers from my stash, because down here I want to spell out "Got candy?" ? We do! ! But again, like I said, I don't want it to have a lot of visual weight. I want it to be there. I want you to be able to see it, but I also I feel like we have a lot of color going on here, so I didn't want to bring another big dose of any one color into my layout. So I'm just going to use these white puffy stickers for the little subtitle at the bottom right. Add some of those little pieces of extra of the candy that I had fussy cut. I can just add those into that bottom layer. Now we need some details, right? We need some bling. Definitely need some bling. So I grabbed 2 different colors of the flatback crystals from Brutus Monroe. One of them has like a yellowy, it's like a yellow color, and the other one is a real kind of like a pale pink color. And what I'm basically doing is I'm adding some little accents to the pieces of candy, and I'm adding them color on color. So I have the yellow ones on one side of my desk and I have the pink ones on the other side of my desk. And I'm just adding some of the gems to the orange candies and the pink candies. I'm adding the orange gems to the orange candies and the pink gems to the pink candies. And that's just going to provide a little bit of added detail to my layout. And there is my colorful layout all done. Thank you so much for joining me today. I so appreciate it. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. It was a little bit of a labor of love, not gonna lie. There was a lot of fussy cutting, die cutting, working, gluing before we actually got to the part where we got to create the layout, right? But it's totally worth it. I love how this turned out. So cute. I will leave a link down below to all the available products over at Brutus Monroe, and I will also leave a link to Scuzzy's candy because you guys, the candy is amazing. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Here are all of your close-ups, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.